In the gleaming headquarters of a tech empire, a CEO's hasty judgment nearly destroyed his company. But what he discovered about the janitor he fired would change everything he thought he knew about leadership, humanity, and the true cost of overlooking those who work in the shadows. The red notification light on Marcus Chen's phone pulses urgently, casting a dim glow across his mahogany desk. It's 11:47 p.m. at Chen Technologies' Seattle headquarters, and what he reads makes his blood run cold. Suspicious after-hours access detected in executive offices. Multiple security protocol violations. Review required immediately. Marcus pulls up the security feed on his laptop, his reflection in the darkened screen showing the same determination that helped him build a tech empire from nothing. The footage loads, grainy and clear all at once. There's Tom Wilson, the night janitor, entering the restricted server room at 2 a.m. Again at 3 a.m. Then the executive offices at 4 a.m. No cleaning cart, just quick, purposeful movements. The timestamp shows this has been happening for weeks. Marcus's finger hovers over the playback button, his mind racing. In the 15 years since he started this company in his garage, security has never been breached. Now, with the annual security audit just days away and investors watching their every move, he can't afford any risks. He opens Tom's employee file. The photo shows a man in his 50s, gray-streaked hair, eyes tired but kind. 10 years of service, a spotless record until now. Recent notes show schedule changes, requested night shifts, declined overtime pay despite working extra hours. The security report sits heavy in his inbox. Multiple unauthorized access attempts. Pattern suggests data mining. Recommended immediate action required. Marcus loosens his tie, the silk suddenly feeling like a noose. The weight of responsibility presses down on him. $100 million in contracts could vanish if they fail the security audit. Thousands of jobs hang in the balance. His eyes drift to the small photo frame on his desk, his own father in a janitor's uniform, smiling proudly at his son's college graduation. The irony isn't lost on him. But this isn't about sentiment. It's about protecting everything they've built. The corporate security team's recommendation is clear: immediate termination. No exceptions for security breaches, no matter how long the employee's tenure. Marcus reaches for his phone, then hesitates. Something about the footage nags at him. Tom's movements don't look furtive or suspicious. They look purposeful, almost urgent. But in today's digital age, trust is a luxury he can't afford. He sends the text to HR. Prepare termination papers for Thomas Wilson, effective immediately. The message leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. But as he stands to leave, a new email pops up. Subject line: Urgent. Server room status. His cursor moves to open it, but his phone buzzes again with another security alert. Marcus Chen doesn't know it yet, but his next decision will trigger a chain of events that will force him to question everything he believes about trust, judgment, and the true cost of protecting what matters. The morning arrives with Seattle's signature gray skies and a tension that hangs thick in the air of Chen Technologies' lobby. Tom Wilson arrives for his shift exactly as he has for the past decade, 6 a.m. sharp, wearing a clean gray uniform that's seen better days but still carries the dignity of honest work. Marcus watches from the security desk monitor, his Italian leather shoes squeaking against the polished floor as he shifts uncomfortably. The weight of the termination papers in his hands feels heavier than the stack of merger documents he signed last week. Sarah from HR stands beside him, her professional mask firmly in place. "Do you want security present?" she asks quietly. Marcus shakes his head. He's worked here 10 years. We owe him that much dignity. The elevator ride to the conference room is silent. Marcus studies his reflection in the mirrored walls, wondering when he started looking so old. 10 years ago, he was still working 100-hour weeks, building his company from scratch. Back then, he knew every employee by name. Tom sits in the small conference room, his weathered hands folded neatly on the table. His expression is calm, almost expecting. No cleaning cart today. Security called him in directly. Mr. Wilson, Marcus begins, his voice steadier than he feels. We've discovered some concerning activity. He slides the security photos across the table. Tom glances at them without touching them, his face unreadable. The silence stretches uncomfortably. These areas are restricted, Marcus continues. The server room, executive offices, after hours. You know this. Tom nods slowly. Yes, sir, I do. Would you like to explain? Tom's eyes meet Marcus's for a moment, then drift to the window where rain starts to pattern against the glass. Sometimes things need doing, he says simply. The vague response sets off warning bells in Marcus's mind. He's dealt with corporate espionage before, but something about Tom's calm demeanor doesn't fit the profile. We have to terminate your employment, Marcus states, pushing the papers forward. Effective immediately. Tom picks up the pen without protest, his hand steady as he signs. But just as he's about to stand, a young woman bursts into the room, her IT badge swinging wildly. Mr. Chen, wait. There's something you need to know about the server. Not now, Jenny. Sarah cuts her off sharply. This is a private meeting. Jenny's face flushes red, but her eyes lock with Tom's. Something unspoken passes between them before Tom shakes his head slightly. Jenny backs out of the room, her expression torn. As security escorts Tom out, he makes only one request. Can I clean out my locker first? Marcus nods, watching as Tom walks away with the same quiet dignity he's shown for 10 years. But it's what happens next that will haunt Marcus for days to come. At his locker, Tom pulls out a worn notebook, a thermos, and a small photo frame. He hesitates, then turns to the security guard. The server room log is in my cart, he says quietly. Make sure Jenny gets it. Before Marcus can process these words, alarms begin blaring throughout the building. Red emergency lights flash as his phone explodes with notifications. Sir! An IT supervisor rushes up, panic clear on his face. The main servers are overheating, the cooling system's failing, and we can't access the manual override protocols. Marcus turns sharply to where Tom was standing, but the janitor is already gone, his empty locker door swinging softly closed. In his pocket, Marcus's phone buzzes again. The message makes his blood run cold. Critical system failure imminent. Estimated damage, $50 million in data loss. Here's Section 3, First Act Development, 1,500 words. Chaos erupts across Chen Technologies' 47 floors. Emergency lights pulse crimson as engineers rush through corridors, their faces illuminated by the glow of tablets displaying rapidly rising temperature graphs. The main server room has become a furnace and nobody can figure out why. Marcus stands in the middle of it all, his perfect composure cracking. A decade of business success, and now everything might literally melt down hours after firing a janitor. The coincidence feels too precise to ignore. Manual override isn't responding, a technician shouts over the alarms, temperatures hitting critical levels. Jenny from IT hovers at the edge of the crisis, fidgeting with her badge. Her eyes keep darting between Marcus and the emergency exit Tom used earlier. Finally, she steps forward. Mr. Chen, she starts, her voice trembling but determined. Tom knew how to. Sir? Another interruption as the head of IT bursts through the door. We need to decide now. If we shut down the servers to prevent damage, we lose 6 hours of critical client data. If we don't, we could lose everything. Marcus loosens his tie, mind racing. Millions in contracts, thousands of jobs, all hanging by a thread. He turns to Jenny, something clicking into place. What were you saying about Tom? Jenny swallows hard. He maintained the cooling system manually every night. The automatic system's been glitching for months, but he figured out a way to… Get him back here. Marcus cuts in sharply, turning to his assistant. Whatever it takes. But Tom isn't answering his phone. Security footage shows him leaving the parking garage in his battered Honda Civic 20 minutes ago. A perfect exit before disaster struck. Marcus runs his hands through his hair, his carefully maintained appearance dissolving. The server room temperature inches higher, and with it, the price of his hasty judgment climbs. Then he remembers Tom's last words. "The server room log is in my cart." "Find that cleaning cart," Marcus barks, already moving. He finds it tucked in its usual corner, meticulously organized. The logbook sits exactly where Tom said it would be. Inside, page after page of detailed notes fill the worn notebook. Temperature readings, timing patterns, manual valve adjustments, all recorded in careful handwriting. 10 months of nightly entries, each one marking another silent save of the company's digital heart. "He knew," Marcus whispers, realization dawning. "All those unauthorized entries." Jenny nods, finally able to explain. The cooling system would fail every night at 2 a.m. Tom discovered he could stabilize it by manually adjusting the valves in sequence. He tried to report it, but who listens to a janitor about server maintenance? Marcus finishes, shame coloring his voice. The last page of the log contains step-by-step instructions, written with the same care Tom showed in everything else. At the bottom, a simple note: "In case I'm not here." Marcus hands the notebook to the IT team, watching as they follow Tom's meticulous instructions. Within minutes, the temperature begins to drop. The crisis subsides as quickly as it arose. But the real crisis is only beginning to surface in Marcus's conscience. He retreats to his office, Tom's employee file spread across his desk. The recent schedule changes, the declined overtime, the late-night hours, everything he'd seen as suspicious suddenly tells a different story. A small bundle of papers falls from the file, medical bills, lots of them, all for the same patient at Seattle Children's Hospital, all under the name Sarah Wilson. Marcus's phone buzzes. Another security alert, but this one's different. Footage from 3 months ago. Tom in the server room at 2 a.m., not stealing data but saving it, while carrying a phone with a video call active. On the screen, a young girl in a hospital bed, clearly unable to sleep, watching her father work. The image blurs as Marcus feels something he hasn't experienced in years: tears of regret. His finger hovers over his phone's keypad. He could call Tom, try to fix this, but something tells him this isn't about a simple apology. He needs to understand the full story first. The clock reads 10:43 a.m. Somewhere in Seattle, a man who spent 10 years secretly saving this company is probably sitting in a hospital room, wondering how he'll pay next month's bills. Marcus grabs his coat. He has a lot to learn about the janitor he just fired, and time is running out. Seattle Children's Hospital rises against the gray sky like a beacon of hope and heartbreak. Marcus stands in the parking lot, his designer coat collecting droplets of rain, Tom's file clutched in his hand. The medical bills inside all lead here. Security cameras show Tom's Civic in the far corner of the lot, covered in a fine mist of morning rain. He's here, but the hospital is huge. 9 floors of corridors, rooms, and stories Marcus is only beginning to understand. At the information desk, the receptionist eyes his expensive suit with practiced neutrality. "I'm looking for Sarah Wilson's room," Marcus says, trying to sound confident. "Are you family?" she asks, fingers hovering over her keyboard. "No, Marcus hesitates. What is he? The man who just fired her father? "I'm here to help," he finishes lamely. "I'm sorry, sir. Only family members." "Mr. Chen?" Marcus turns to find Jenny from IT standing near the coffee machine, a paper cup gripped tightly in her hands. Her presence here isn't a coincidence. "You knew," he says. It's not a question. Jenny nods, guilt and defiance warring on her face. "I've been covering some of his night shifts," she admits. "When Sarah has bad nights. She's just 16, Mr. Chen. She shouldn't be alone." The weight of what he's learning settles deeper into Marcus's conscience. While he was suspecting corporate espionage, his employees were quietly holding each other up. Jenny leads him to the oncology ward. Through a window, Marcus sees Tom sitting beside a hospital bed. A teenage girl lies there, thin and pale, but smiling as her father reads from a worn copy of The Hobbit. The scene strikes Marcus like a physical blow. He reads to her every morning after his shift, Jenny explains softly. He hasn't missed a day in 8 months, not even when the pneumonia was so bad he could barely stand. The pieces start falling into place. The night shifts, the server room access, the declined overtime. The hospital has better Wi-Fi in the server room, Jenny continues. Sarah couldn't sleep during chemo, so Tom would video call her while he worked. He thought if she saw him helping keep such important machines running, maybe it would help her believe in beating her own battle. Marcus watches through the window as Tom tenderly adjusts Sarah's blanket. There's no trace of bitterness or anger on his face, just the deep, quiet love of a father for his child. A doctor approaches them, clipboard in hand. Even through the thick hospital windows, Marcus can read the concern in her expression. Tom's shoulders tense as he listens, his hand gripping Sarah's tighter. Jenny's voice breaks as she translates the scene. The insurance, it wasn't covering everything. Tom's been working extra shifts trying to qualify for better coverage. Today was supposed to be. She can't finish, but she doesn't need to. Marcus remembers the termination papers, the lost benefits, the casual cruelness of corporate policy. His phone buzzes. The CEO of a major client is demanding answers about this morning's server incident. The company's stock is already responding to rumors of infrastructure problems. His presence is required back at the office immediately. Marcus silences his phone. Through the window, Sarah is showing her father something on her tablet. Despite her condition, her eyes sparkle with excitement. Tom leans in, and for a moment, his exhaustion lifts. She's been teaching him coding, Jenny says, a small smile breaking through. She wants to work for Chen Technologies someday. She says if her dad can keep our servers running without any training, imagine what she could do with a degree. The irony threatens to choke Marcus. While he was building his technology empire, real human stories were unfolding in the shadows of his server rooms. A nurse approaches Tom, holding out a stack of forms. Marcus recognizes them. Hospital transfer papers. Without insurance, they'll move Sarah to a state facility, away from her doctors, away from hope. Tom's hands shake as he reaches for the papers. Before he can grasp them, Marcus finds himself moving, pushing through the door, into the room where everything he thought he knew about his company, about judgment, about human dignity, is about to change. Sarah looks up first, her eyes widening in recognition. Despite never meeting him, she knows exactly who he is. The man from the company website. The man her father respected. The man who just ended their last chance at staying here. Tom turns slowly, the weight of the morning's events visible in every line of his face. But when he speaks, his voice carries the same quiet dignity it held during his termination. "Mr. Chen," he says simply, "I was going to email you the override protocols for the backup cooling system." The hospital room falls silent except for the steady beep of Sarah's monitors. Marcus Chen, the tech mogul who commands boardrooms with ease, finds himself speechless before a janitor's unwavering grace. "The protocols can wait," Marcus manages, his voice rougher than usual. "We need to talk about this morning." Sarah looks between them, her young face showing wisdom beyond her years. "Dad?" she says softly. "Is this about the server room? Did you finally tell them? If this story is touching your heart so far, don't forget to hit that like button. What happens next will show us all something profound about human dignity and second chances. Now, back to that hospital room, where a father's dedication was about to change a CEO's entire worldview. Tom places a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder. "It's complicated, sweetheart." "No," Marcus interrupts, surprising himself. "It's not complicated at all. I made a mistake." The admission hangs in the air. Through the window, Jenny wipes away tears, a small smile forming on her face. Marcus pulls up a chair, his $1,000 suit creasing as he sits beside the hospital bed. "Tell me everything," he says. "From the beginning." Tom glances at Sarah, who nods encouragingly. He takes a deep breath and begins. 8 months ago, I noticed the server room temperature spiking during night shifts. The automated system wasn't catching it. I reported it, but…" He shrugs. Nobody pays much attention to a janitor's maintenance reports. "So, you fixed it yourself," Marcus finishes. "Sarah helped, actually." Tom's face brightens with pride. "She researched cooling systems online during her treatments, taught me about thermal dynamics between her hospital stays." Sarah grins weakly. "Dad's a fast learner, and the server room has better Wi-Fi than my room." A nurse appears with more forms, hesitating at the door. The reality of their situation crashes back. Without insurance, without income, all of this, the hospital, the treatments, the hope ends today. Marcus stands abruptly. "Excuse me for one moment." In the hallway, he makes 3 calls. The first to his company's head of HR, the second to his personal lawyer, and the third to the hospital's administrative office. Each call is brief, his voice carrying the same tone he uses for billion-dollar negotiations. When he returns, Tom is helping Sarah sit up, preparing for the inevitable transfer. The sight stops Marcus in his tracks. "Put those forms away," he says. "Sarah's not going anywhere." Tom freezes. "Mr. Chen, I appreciate the gesture, but without insurance—" "Your termination this morning was invalid," Marcus cuts in. "You can't be fired for performing essential system maintenance, even if the access was unauthorized. HR is drawing up reinstatement papers as we speak." Hope flickers across Tom's tired face, but caution tempers it. "The security protocols will be rewritten," Marcus states firmly. "In fact, I need someone to head up a new facilities maintenance division, someone who understands our systems from the ground up, someone who's proven they'll do whatever it takes to keep things running." Sarah's eyes light up. "Dad, that's you!" But Tom hesitates, his hand still gripping the hospital forms. "Why?" he asks simply. Marcus looks around the room, at the worn book of fairy tales, at Sarah's coding tutorials, at the decade of quiet dedication written in every line of Tom's face. "Because," he says slowly, "I forgot something important. Companies aren't built on servers and software, they're built on people. People like you, who care enough to stay up all night keeping things running, who teach themselves engineering while watching their daughter fight cancer, who never once asked for recognition or reward." He extends his hand to Tom. "I don't want to just fix my mistake, I want to make it right." The moment stretches, fragile as hope, strong as a father's love. Then Tom reaches out and takes Marcus's hand. Sarah lets out a small cheer, setting off a cascade of beeping from her monitors. A nurse rushes in but stops at the sight of their clasped hands, sensing the weight of the moment. "One condition," Tom says, his voice firm despite his tears. "Jenny gets promoted too. She's been covering for me, risking her job to help Sarah." Marcus nods, thinking of the young IT worker's quiet solidarity. "Already done." Through the window, Jenny covers her mouth, joy and relief written across her face. The morning's crisis feels distant now, replaced by something far more important, the restoration of faith in human dignity. The next morning, Chen Technologies buzzes with a different kind of energy. The story of Tom Wilson has spread through the building like wildfire, transforming from a tale of suspected corporate espionage into something far more powerful. Marcus stands in the server room, watching as Tom explains the cooling system's intricacies to a team of wide-eyed engineers. He's still wearing his janitor's uniform, his choice. But now there's a new badge clipped to it, Director of Facilities Operations. The key is listening to the machines, Tom says, his hand resting on a server bank. They tell you when something's wrong if you pay attention. The engineers scribble notes frantically. These are people with advanced degrees from prestigious universities, learning from a man who taught himself thermodynamics from hospital room YouTube videos. Jenny stands nearby, her new IT security badge gleaming. She's creating a database of Tom's maintenance logs, turning years of handwritten notes into a manual for future generations. Marcus's phone hasn't stopped buzzing all morning. News of their new facilities division has somehow leaked to the press. The story's gone viral. Tech CEO discovers janitor secretly saving company millions. The stock is up 15 points. But that's not why Marcus is smiling. Through the server room's glass walls, he watches as Sarah Wilson sits in her wheelchair, wrapped in a hospital blanket. Her nurses agreed to this one-time field trip, and her eyes shine with wonder as she watches her father work. "And this," Tom says, leading his team to a particular server bank, "is where Sarah helped me figure out the backup cooling sequence, my daughter's first debugging success." Sarah beams with pride, her thin hands clutching a laptop, a gift from the engineering team. On its screen, she's already started coding her first app. Marcus steps out of the server room, leaving Tom to his teaching. His assistant hurries up, tablet in hand. "Sir, the board is requesting an emergency meeting about the new division," she says breathlessly, "and HR needs to know if we're really creating a college scholarship program for employees' children." "Tell the board I'll be there in an hour," Marcus replies, and yes to the scholarship. Call it the Sarah Wilson Tech Initiative. Through the glass, he sees Sarah's eyes widen as she overhears his words. Tom pauses mid-explanation, emotion crossing his face. A young janitor passes by pushing his cart. He stops, staring at Tom in his uniform teaching Silicon Valley's finest. Their eyes meet, and Tom nods. The message is clear. In this company, every job has dignity. Every voice matters. Marcus's phone buzzes again. This time it's a photo from the hospital. Sarah's room filled with get-well cards from Chen Technologies employees. The nursing staff reports they've never seen so many tech workers learn about chemotherapy protocols. The overhead lights flicker slightly, another glitch in the aging system. But before anyone can react, Tom's voice rings out. "Check the east corridor breaker. It does this every time it rains." Marcus watches as his highly paid engineers rush to follow a janitor's instructions. The lights stabilize within seconds. Sarah laughs, the sound echoing through the server room. "Dad's been keeping a list of every glitch in the building," she explains to the amazed engineers. "He says every problem is just a solution waiting to be found." Marcus feels something shift in his chest. The last piece of corporate armor falling away. He's built his career on technological innovations, but Tom Wilson taught him the most important innovation of all, seeing the human potential that hides in plain sight. His assistant reappears, more urgent this time. "Sir, the board is waiting." Marcus straightens his tie, preparing for battle. He knows some board members will resist these changes, questioning the cost of human dignity over corporate efficiency. But as he looks through the server room glass one last time, seeing Tom Wilson sharing his hard-won wisdom while his daughter dreams of her own tech future, Marcus knows exactly what he's fighting for. Sometimes the biggest innovations don't come from algorithms or artificial intelligence. Sometimes they come from remembering that behind every job title, every uniform, every position, there's a human story waiting to be heard. 1 year later, Chen Technologies' lobby looks different. Between the sleek modern artwork and digital displays, a new wall catches every visitor's eye. They call it the Dignity Wall, and it showcases photos of employees from every level of the company, each with their own story of innovation. Tom Wilson's picture holds the center spot. He's still wearing his janitor's uniform in the photo, but now it's accompanied by an impressive title and a list of patents. The cooling system modification he developed has saved the company millions in energy costs. More importantly, it's being shared with hospitals nationwide, helping them reduce their operating expenses. Sarah Wilson's story sits next to her father's. She's now in remission, a freshman at MIT on a full Chen Technologies scholarship. Her first app, designed to help hospital patients connect with others during long-term treatments, is already in beta testing at Seattle Children's Hospital. Jenny leads the company's new mentorship program, connecting entry-level workers with senior management. The boundaries between positions have blurred, replaced by a culture that values innovation wherever it emerges. Marcus Chen has changed too. Every morning he takes a different route through the building, speaking with employees he once would have passed without noticing. He's learned that leadership isn't about corner offices and executive decisions. It's about seeing the potential in every person who walks through your door. The server room has become something of a legend. New employees are told the story during orientation, how a janitor's dedication saved the company, how a CEO learned to listen, and how a mistake turned into a mission. Tom still checks the server room personally each night, though he no longer has to. Sometimes Sarah joins him via video chat from her dorm room, offering coding suggestions or just keeping her father company. Some habits of love don't need changing. The company's newest initiative launches next week, the Wilson Innovation Grant, offering support to employees who see problems that need solving, regardless of their position. The first recipient? A cafeteria worker who developed a more efficient food distribution system for local homeless shelters. Marcus watches from his office as Tom leads another training session. The janitor-turned-director moves with the same quiet dignity he's always had, but now his wisdom echoes through every level of the company. On his desk, Marcus keeps a framed note Tom's original server room log, a reminder that sometimes the most important innovations come from simply paying attention to the people around you. And in the server room, where this story began, a small plaque reads, "Every person has value. Every voice matters. Every job has dignity." The servers hum quietly, perfectly cooled, while outside the rain falls on a company forever changed by the simple truth that leadership isn't about authority, it's about humanity. The next time you're faced with a choice between quick judgment and deeper understanding, remember, every person carries a story that could change the way you see the world. True leadership isn't about the decisions we make from above, but the wisdom we find when we take time to look below the surface. Share this story if you believe that sometimes the greatest heroes aren't the ones in the spotlight, but the ones keeping the lights on after everyone else has gone home.